will say he's done something that goes beyond the pale. He will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he says he tells no lies and that he never jokes. Confronting with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. A modern Don Quixote, he hates the windmills, claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. But don't believe that story, it's really just a shill. He just did not want to see them wild golfing on Scottish hills. A hoax, he said it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, changing a storm path with black marker strokes. Confronted with the truth, to say it's all a hoax. Casting mail-in ballots is something that he's done. Now he wants to ban them for each and every one. He claims it's for integrity in each election, but he won't believe the results unless it's him that's won. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, they'll fool you with distractions like real sugar in Cokes. Confronted with the truth, you'll say it's all a hoax. He promised to release all the Epstein files that caused all the MAGA base to react with smiles. But how long has he put it off? It sure has been a while, and now he's calling this a hoax, protecting pedophiles. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he'll keep on gaslighting up until he croaks. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax.
Trump piled debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Goes through crises, storms and war. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hired his kids to run DC. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, Fox News would say I made. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Love Kim Jong-un, he wrote love letters that take the guns first, lose those rights forever. Signed you spending bills with glee. Had Joe done that, it'd be tyranny. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they shall look today. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Kept secret files, countless untold. Said Putin's word was good as gold. Invited the Taliban to come to U.S. soil. If Joe had done that, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they want him to pay. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Double standards, loud and clear. Rules for Trump, but not for peers. What they call treason, if Joe's the name, is patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden
And we're back. Yeah. AT&T is being stupid today, apparently. I don't know. Again, it could be my router, or it could be AT&T in general. I don't know. But earlier today, I was having some issues connecting to a Zoom meeting around 5 o'clock my time, a little later, to try and figure out something that needed to get fixed for work. So, and it was telling me that I was having a very patchy internet or whatever. So, it could very well be the router, and maybe me resetting the router fixed it. If rebooting the router didn't fix it and it's an AT&T issue, I might have to get them to come out. But basically, and the infrastructure here, though, is actually fairly new. We just got fiber in like 2001, no, not 2021, maybe 2022. Every time I would go into Costco, basically the AT&T representative would harass me. I was like, well, do y'all have fiber in my neighborhood yet? Well, let's check. No, then you can't help me because I don't have everything else of y'all's. So, and then finally it got to the point where I did have fiber, and then I would say, you can't help me. And they'd be like, why? I'd say, well, because I have AT&T phones, I have DirecTV Stream, and I have fiber that's from AT&T. So unless you have a new product that's out, I have everything that I need. So, see, Dan has not prostate problems. He was able to start a new... Dan has no prostate problems. He was able to start a new stream.
Oh my.
There you go. 250 kilo restarts the router with AT&T often. That's weird. I haven't had this problem since I've gotten it. I've had it for a while now, but it used to be much worse under Cox Communications, and I basically told the AT&T people, if I want to curse somebody, I say a Cox on both your houses. So, but anyway, yes, let's keep our fingers crossed that we can continue to do what we need to do. Let us go back to here. I rewound it a little. I moved it back a little bit so that we could, not miss what we might have missed. I don't know. And again, if this takes too terribly long, and or if the internet goes out again, I will just do this more on Monday. So, but anyway, here we go. More of old Petey Boy Hegseth.
In combat, there are thousands of variables, as I learned in Iraq and Afghanistan, and as so many of you did in so many more places. Leaders can only control about 3 of them. You control how well you're trained, mostly how well you're equipped, and the last variable is how well you lead. After that, you're on your own.
Okay. How far you're trained, equipped, and how well you lead, which again will be hypocritical in a little bit. So let's continue.
Our warfighters are entitled to be led by the best and most capable leaders. That is who we need you all to be. Even then, in combat, even if you do everything right, you may still lose people because the enemy always gets a vote. We have a sacred duty to ensure that our warriors are led by the most capable and qualified combat leaders. This is one thing.
Capable and qualified leaders. Keep that in mind.
You and I can control. And we owe it to the force to deliver it. For too long, we have simply not done that. The military has been forced by foolish and reckless politicians to focus on the wrong things. In many ways, this speech is about fixing decades of decay. Some of it obvious, some of it hidden. Or as the chairman has put it, we are clearing out the debris. Removing...
But I like debris on my po' boys.
The distractions. Clearing the way for leaders to be leaders. You might say we're ending the war on warriors. I heard someone wrote a book about that.
Was that you, Pete?
For
little self-aggrandizement there.
Too long, we've promoted too many uniformed leaders for the wrong reasons. Based on their race, based on gender quotas, based on historic so-called firsts. We've pretended that combat arms and non-combat arms are the same thing. We've weeded out so-called toxic leaders under the guise of double-blind psychology assessments.
We've weeded so-called toxic. You mean the ones that would allow their soldiers to rape people without consequence? Those types of people, old Petey boy? Is that what you want to have, in your military?
promoting risk-averse, go-along-to-get-along conformists instead. You name it, the department did it. Foolish and reckless political leaders set the wrong compass heading.
250 kilo MGs. Any minorities in the room? There might be a few. I think I saw a few non-white faces in that room. Of course, they don't understand the fact that when we had this country for the first, 200 plus years of the country, maybe a little less, we had people who were picked DEI in their version of DEI because the people that were picked were white men, and that was it. If you were anybody else, they wouldn't give you a chance. But if you're a white man, you're fine, regardless of the qualifications of the people who were trying to get to other positions. All this DEI stuff does is allow people who are qualified to get into those positions as well. Make sure that well-qualified people can serve in this. But he probably believed old Charlie Kirk when Charlie Kirk was like, I'd be scared if I saw a black man piloting my plane. I would be scared if I had a black trans woman, blah, 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 blah. Of course you were, because you're a racist. And what Pete Hegseth and these other folks want to do is go back to the time where you're only picking white men and then claiming that doing anything else is just DEI, which of course is wrong.
And we lost our way. We became...
Quesadilla, yep, VA benefits weren't for us minorities not long ago. Exactly. And of course, there's the whole thing we talked about with the debate that we're going to probably watch at some point with Tucker Carlson and Bernie Sanders' national, was a press secretary or whatever for his 2020 campaign, which was the fact that you had GIs who were coming home under the GI Bill who were minorities who couldn't take advantage of the funding availability of the low-interest loans because those banks wouldn't write loans in areas that were, on the wrong side of the red line. So...
the woke department. But not anymore. Right
I can't define woke, but we're not going to be it anymore.
now, I'm looking out at a sea of Americans who made a choice when they were young men and young women to do something most Americans will not, to serve something greater than yourselves, to fight for God and country, for freedom and the Constitution.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe like what, 2 or 3 women? Or white women? 1, 2. But yeah, mostly white. Oh, there's there's a 5th one maybe. So, yeah, mostly white audience.
You made a choice to serve when others did not. And I commend you.
Well, I'm sure a bunch of the people didn't make the choice to serve. They were probably drafted and maybe just stayed in, but still, let's continue.
You are truly the best of America.
You're the best around. And of course, he's saying that to those people in the room who are might have been included in the decision making, unless they haven't fired them already, of picking well qualified people who just also happen to be black or women.
But this does not mean, and this goes for all of us, that our path to this auditorium on this day was a straight line, or that the conditions of the formations we lead are where we want them to be. You love your country, and we love this uniform, which is why we must do...
We love this uniform. It's so super! Sorry.
Better. We just have to be honest. We have to say...
Well, you should resign right now because that ain't your cup of tea.
With our mouths what we see with our eyes. To just tell it like it is in plain English. To point out the obvious things right in front of us. That's what leaders must...
That you're a dumbass, that the president is a dumbass, that all of the administration is terrible and horrible. That's what I see in front of my eyes, but hey.
Must do. We cannot go another day without
as 250 Kilom says, a punchable face, yes.
Directly addressing the plank in our own eye. Without addressing the problems in our own commands and in our own formations. This administration has done a great deal from day one to
screw over the military and to screw over the people who work for the government.
Move the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department. To rip out the politics.
Yeah, no, you're not ripping out the politics. You're injecting more into it, but let's continue.
No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender.
No more division, except we're going to mock the people who happen to be, might be a guy who likes to wear a dress, or maybe a woman, a trans woman who wants to, transition, who have served their country well, but now want to transition. And, you're going to say, fuck them, fuck anybody who doesn't conform to our view of what we think America should be, and i.e., our view being your view, being a white, cisgendered, straight male military, and nobody else.
Delusions. No more debris.
There he is about debris again. Debris is awesome in Po' Boys. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you should come to, I would say maybe you should come to New Orleans, but no, I don't want any of this military coming down to New Orleans. We already had enough of that threat. We don't need any of the military coming down to New Orleans.
I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that shit.
Language!
I've made it my mission to uproot the obvious distractions that made us less capable and less lethal.
And I've made more distractions that are going to harm this military and its readiness.
That said, the War Department requires the next step. Underneath the woke garbage is a deeper problem, and a more important problem that we are fixing and fixing fast. Common sense is back at the White House.
Yeah, no.
So making the necessary changes is actually pretty straightforward. President Trump expects it. And the litmus test for these changes, it's pretty simple. Would I want my eldest son, who is 15 years old, eventually joining the types of formations that we are currently wielding? If in any way the answer to that is no, or even yes, but, then we're doing something wrong. Because my son...
we're judging your character, and your character is shit, so what you would want for your son is much different than what a lot of people want for theirs, but let's continue.
...is no more important than any other American citizen who dons the cloth of our nation. He is no more important than your son. All precious souls made in the image and likeness of God. Every parent deserves to know that their son or their daughter that joins our ranks is entering exactly the kind of unit that the Secretary of War would want his son to join. Think of it as the golden rule test. Jesus said, "Do unto others that which you would have done unto yourself." It's the ultimate simplifying test of truth. The new War Department golden rule is this: do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit. Would you want him serving with...
Do unto your unit what you would want done to your child's unit?
Oh my.
That's kind of gross, isn't it? Let's hear that again. That's kind of creepy, right? It's just weird, right?
Jesus said, "Do unto others that which you would have done unto yourself." It's the ultimate simplifying test of truth. The new War Department golden rule is this: do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit.
Oh my.
Did somebody not proofread this script and be like, hey, maybe you should word it a little bit differently, but I guess when your commander-in-chief is a pedophile protector, maybe they don't care about what you do to children's units. Right? Let's continue. I was waiting for that one to come up, by the way.
Would you want him serving with fat or unfit or undertrained troops? Or alongside people who can't meet basic standards?
Who is saying that there are people who are fat who are serving in the field, who are active combat duty troops? Who is saying that people out there are not qualified? Maybe they made the qualifications too tough to do certain things, and maybe it's reasonable to bring the qualifications down a little bit simply because of the fact that, with modern technology, with modern weaponry, with modern vehicles, you don't need as much perhaps is what a soldier might have needed 70 years ago. But hey, you know, they're not going to get their military to be all white men who are straight and cisgender if they don't, you know, make it impossible for other people to, you know, get in and do their work. And we'll talk about a little bit more about the fatty quotient in a little bit.
Or in a unit where standards were lowered so certain types of troops could make it in? In a unit where leaders were promoted for reasons other than merit, performance, and warfighting?
Name me one person. I want to hear one person who was literally not qualified to be in the post who got appointed because of other reasons. Now, they might have been appointed for certain reasons while also being qualified, but these people have such a small brain they don't understand that.
The answer is not just no, it's hell no. This means at the War Department, first and foremost, we must restore a ruthless, dispassionate, and common sense application of standards.
Ruthless application of standards, and going overboard and jumping the shark with them too.
I don't want my son serving alongside troops who are out of shape.
Where has that happened ever? Is there an epidemic of people who are serving with out-of-shape troops? I mean, I know they're not going to pick me. I mean, I might have lost 125 pounds, but they're still not going to pick me because, well, A, my knees, and B, well, you know, I'm still a chunky man. That being said, I know of no situations where we have out-of-shape active duty troops who are serving in, you know, combat areas, right?
Or in combat unit with females who can't meet the same combat arms physical standards as men.
Well, again, where is that happening? By all means, if you have a set of standards that somebody needs to meet to do a certain position, then by all means, if they don't meet those qualifications, then don't hire them, but make them legitimately true, necessary requirements, and don't make them so high that people who would be able to do the job not be able to get in, because that's what they're going to do.
Or troops who are not fully proficient on their assigned weapons, platform, or task. Or under a leader who was the first, but not the best.
Again, who was the first, but not the best? Who was the not... And again, being the best is subjective. It's not necessarily... Like, who was the best choice when there was a seat open on the Supreme Court when Ketanji Brown Jackson was chosen to be the replacement? Who was the best? That's just subjective. So Biden found himself a well-qualified person who also happened to be a black woman because she would then be the first black woman because he promised to do that. Because for the history of the Supreme Court, we've never had one because we've ignored black women for the majority of that. We've mostly ignored women until very recently, and we mostly ignored black people, you know, men. What we had? 2? Is that it? 2 that we've had in the entire span in the history? Thurgood Marshall and Justice Thomas? 2? That's it. Then 1 black woman. We've had 3 black people overall. But yet, beforehand, y'all always picked the best and the brightest. Fuck that.
Standards must be uniform, gender neutral, and high.
I mean, standards should be uniform and should be gender neutral, abso-frickin-lutely, but they should be high enough for, you know, to make sure that everybody who's going to do the job that they've been hired to do, which may be different standards for different jobs that you're doing, it shouldn't be too high that you leave out well-qualified candidates, which is what they do.
If not, they're not standards. They're just suggestions. Suggestions that get our sons and daughters killed.
No, what gets our sons and daughters killed is people who misuse the military and want to basically use it to fight their own personal political battles, and people who want to, you know, change it to the War Department instead of the Department of Defense. People that put waging war as more important than preventing it. That puts our people more at risk.
When it comes to combat arms units, and there are many different stripes across our joint force, the era of politically correct overly sensitive, don't hurt anyone's feelings leadership ends right now.
Now we say screw everybody's feelings, screw everyone, and don't pay attention to how anything our actions might affect people whatsoever, right?
At every level, either you can meet the standard, either you can do the job, either you are disciplined, fit, and trained, or you are out.
But you're going to get rid of a lot of people who are disciplined, trained, and can do the job because you're going to set the standards too high, and you're going to make it ridiculous so that people who would otherwise be able to serve won't be able to serve. So you're going to make the pool, the available pool of people who want to do this job, smaller, which is going to make us less prepared and more weak.
And that's why today, at my direction, and this is the first of 10 Department of War directives that are arriving at your commands as we speak and in your inbox. Today, at my direction, each service will ensure that every requirement for every combat MOS, for every designated combat arms position, returns to the highest male standard only.
Not the highest standard, but the highest male standard. Again, as I said, they're going to make it so that women can't serve and keep women subservient when there are plenty of women who could do the job that's needed to be done, but they're setting the standard too high as to prevent them from getting the position that they want to get. Yeah, exactly. But I'm absolutely thinking of Tammy Duckworth here, and absolutely she has more, any sort of fortitude, intestinal, testicular, or whatever, than this guy ever had.
Because this job is life or death. Standards must be met. And not just met, at every level we should seek to exceed the standard, to push the envelope, to compete. It's common sense and core to
This administration knows nothing about sense. The only sense that this administration has is nonsense.
who we are and what we do. It should be in our DNA. Today, at my direction, we are also adding a combat field test for combat arms units that must be executable in any environment at any time and with combat equipment. These tests, they'll look familiar. They'll resemble the Army Expert Physical Fitness Assessment or the Marine Corps Combat Fitness Test. I'm also directing that warfighters in combat jobs execute their
War fighters, not soldiers, but war fighters. Again, creeping, not really creeping much anymore into fascism, into warmongering, etc.
service fitness test at a gender-neutral, age-normed male standard.
How can it be gender neutral if it's a male standard? How the fuck is it gender neutral if it's a male standard? You're clearly not having it be gender neutral if you're setting it to be a male standard. This is how dumb these people are in this administration.
Scored above 70%. It all starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force.
What about the commander-in-chief there, buddy boy? Maybe we shouldn't have a commander-in-chief that can't do the job if, you're going to set that standard for everybody else in the military. Maybe the head of the military should have to do the same standards, right?
Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops.
Where are we seeing fat troops? This is what I've never heard that we've had a problem with fat troops in the military until this dumbass speech.
Otherwise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon.
Why would a general or an admiral have to be have the same physical fitness readiness? I mean, again, you're going to get rid of people who do the job that's needed of them to be done. And if you're an admiral, you're not sitting there going into the field. You don't need to be combat ready as an admiral. Like to him, Tammy Duckworth couldn't become an admiral, couldn't become a general, because she has her condition that she was as an injured war veteran. So how many war veterans who are injured, who are missing legs, missing arms, how many of those people who could no longer serve in a combat capacity, how many of them are going to be ineligible now to be the head, to be the decision makers of the military, simply because they can't do a combat readiness test or whatever it is he wants to fucking call it? They are weeding out people who are well qualified for the job because they don't like how it looks. I don't want to have to look at a fatty.
And leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are.
Why is it? He says it's a bad look, but that doesn't make it true. Again, if you're a 60-year-old general, I don't give a crap if you have a stomach. And what I give a crap about is the orders that you're going to give, and to make sure that the orders that you give to the people who are below you are constitutional, and and that you'll stand up against any president, Democrat or Republican, or whatever party that they might happen to come from, and say, no, we're not going to do this order because it violates the Constitution. But that's, they're going to get rid of all that too, and they're going to use these artificially high standards to get rid of people that they don't want to have in there. They're going to, I'm sure they've said, how do these people look? How do the people who are in the general staff, the admiralty, or whatever, how many people who are in that group that we don't like, and how can we weed them out? And let's make the rules so that we can get rid of them. That's what's happening here.
So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test.
So if you're a chairborne ranger, if you're somebody who does, like, for example, computer programming, or let's say you pilot a drone, or let's say you write the code for the drone, or let's say you're a translator. I mean, maybe they're going to get rid of translators because their title starts with the word trans, and they don't understand that everything that starts with trans doesn't mean that you're a transgender individual. But if you were somebody my size who let's say you speak 4 or 5 languages adeptly, are you going to say, no, you can't serve in the military because you're chubby? What if somebody is a little person, a dwarf or whatever? Let's say they're, too short to serve in an active combat duty role, but they could sure translate the hell out of some, Arabic texts or Arabic phone calls that are going back and forth. You're going to tell that person no, who's highly qualified to do the job that they need to be done because they don't fit certain standards that you're artificially manufacturing? You're going to, you're going to reduce the available amount of people who could possibly be picked based on these standards that have nothing to do with their ability to do the job. Should you be able to do combat duty roles and pass certain physical fitness tests if you're going to be serving in a combat duty role? Absolutely. But there are so many other people in the military who don't do those roles who shouldn't have to meet those same qualifications, those same standards. So I can guarantee you a bunch of the nerds who are good, and I'm a nerd, most of the nerds that are going to be out there, doing the computer programming for, any of the software that has to be written for, the duties that are needed to be done, many of them are not going to be combat ready, but they'll sure as hell write a really sleek line of code, but you're going to say no to them because they can't do enough pull-ups? Yeah. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Common sense, as he says. No, not common sense at all.
And as the chairman said, yes, there is no...
The rebranding, 250 kilo, the rebranding words, redefining words like they always do, woke, fake news, liberal, climate change, diversity, equity, exactly.
PT test. But today, at my direction, every member of the Joint Force...
Tim Farrell, Chris Farley is 10 times better as a motivational speaker than this clown. And he did it living in a van down by the river.
Force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year, as well as meet height and weight requirements twice a year.
Wait, so as long as they get underweight twice a year, that's fine? So if they could be fat for the other... they could be overweight for the other 363 days of the year. It's just those 2 days that you're worried about. That doesn't make much sense.
Year of service. Also today, at my direction, every warrior across our joint force is required to do PT every duty day. Should be common sense. I mean, most units do that already.
Every day you take a duty? What?
But we're codifying it. And we're not talking like hot yoga and stretching. Real hard PT, either as a unit or as an individual. At every level, from the Joint Chiefs to everyone in this room to the youngest private, leaders set the standard. And so many of you do this already. Active, Guard, and Reserve. This also means grooming standards. No more beards, long hair, superficial individual expression. We're going to cut our hair, shave our...
Superficial individual expression. So everybody has to look exactly the same and can't be any sort of individual. I mean, I guess I was listening to the other idiot who's well, I say other idiot. There's tons of idiots on WGSO who is a former Marine who basically just talks about how when you're in the military, they want to whip the individualization out of you. They want to make you be somebody who is just going to simply follow orders. There is no I, there is no we, there's just soldier. Refer to people as soldier, refer to people as private, refer to people as this or that, the other, but you don't refer to them by their name. People don't refer to themselves as I or as we or whatever, because they want to get rid of the individuality of the person, which of course, I guess that makes it easier to have people who are going to obey orders, especially orders that are not constitutional.
Shave our beards and adhere to standards. Because it's like the broken windows theory of policing. It's like when you let the small stuff go, the big stuff eventually goes.
That's just stupid. So if somebody has a goatee who doesn't need to not have a goatee, that person is somehow gonna, do poorly somewhere else because you've set a weird standard. Now I get if you're gonna be in a situation where you potentially have to be, where you might have gassing or whatever, and you need to have a well-fitting gas mask, and as such you can't have a beard. Fine, sure, whatever. Tell them they have to shave the beards then. But you know why they're making the no beard policy is because they don't want to they can then want to say, well, we're not going to hire Muslims now. All this is for is to get rid of Muslims serving in the military. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. It's to prevent people, because if you can't shave your beard for religious purposes, they're going to say, well, if you can't shave your beard, we're going to require you to not have a beard unless you're in particular roles. And as such, we're not going to be able to hire you again because we only want straight white men.
So you have to address the small stuff.
And exactly, Big Hook. Grooming standards are impossible to maintain out in the field on operations. Exactly. How often, if you're in the middle of a war zone and getting shelled, are you going to be like, oh, Sarge, I need to go back to the barracks and I need to shave my beard or else Pete's going to fire me?
This is on duty, in the field, and in the rear. If you want a beard, you can...
In the rear, huh?
Oh my.
Join Special Forces. If not, then shave. We don't have a...
So Special Forces can have a beard because I guess they go undercover or whatever, and they try and fit into those other places. But so basically, but they're not going to pick Muslim people to go into Special Forces either because, reasons. They'll find reasons to not have Muslims because they only want straight white Christian cis men.
Military full of Nordic pagans. But unfortunately, we have had leaders who either refuse to call BS and enforce standards, or leaders who felt like they were not.
The ponder monkey. You have to have a 13-inch schlong or a doctor's note. Then I guess Pete has to resign, probably. I'm going to go out on a limb there and say Pete's going to have to resign for that. I don't know if he's going to have a doctor's note or not, but whatever.
Not allowed to enforce standards. Both are unacceptable. And that's why today, at my direction, the era of unprofessional appearance is over. No more beardos. The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done.
Rampant and ridiculous shaving. I guess he wouldn't like my, sideburn with my goatee. I guess that would be inappropriate for him. But I guess I wouldn't have to worry about that because I'm a fatty, so I can't serve anyway, regardless of what it is. If the military wanted to hire me as a software developer, I'd be like, nope, sorry, I'm a fatty. Can't serve in the military under Donald Trump because they don't like fatties.
Put, if you do not meet the male...
Yeah, apparently tattoos are okay. He has a big, gigantic tattoo on. But the standards of professionalism of the military are, that you have to have a cleanly shaven face and well-groomed hair, but you can have a fucking Nazi cross on you, and that's totally all right, right?
Level physical standards for combat positions. Cannot pass a PT test or don't want to shave...
Hey, Bethany, good to see you. Yes, well, I don't want to fuck more Willoughby.
Even look professional. It's time for a new position.
You have to look professional. Unless you have Nazi tattoos, then who cares?
Or a new profession.
Yeah, Jolie, I am too. I wish, I guess if they walked out, here's the problem. They walk out, they get kicked out of the military. And as such, you don't have the people who would want to walk out there to push back against ridiculousness. So it's a catch-22, I guess.
Sincerely appreciate the proactive efforts the secretaries have already taken in some of those areas, service secretaries. And these directives are intended to simply accelerate those efforts. On the topic of standards, allow me a few words to talk about toxic leaders. Upholding.
So he's talking about toxic leaders here, eh?
And demanding high standards is not toxic. Enforcing high standards, not toxic leadership. Leading warfighters toward the goals of high, gender-neutral, and uncompromising standards in order to forge a
Again, he says gender-neutral standards, but then he says that they're male standards, which are not then gender-neutral, but let's continue.
Cohesive, formidable, and lethal Department of War is not toxic. It is our duty, consistent with our constitutional oath. Real toxic leadership is endangering subordinates with low standards.
But show me what the low standards were. You can claim that there's low standards till you're blue in the damn face. It doesn't mean that there actually were low standards.
Real toxic leadership is promoting people based on immutable characteristics or quotas instead of based on merit. Real toxic leadership,
because that's what they did in the first, 180, 200 years of this country, right? They always promoted people on merit who could do the job and not based on their immutable, i.e. white men characteristics.
Is promoting
Josh, 0.09 blood alcohol content is toxic. Well played.
destructive ideologies that are an anathema to the Constitution and the laws of nature and nature's God, as Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence. The definition of toxic has been turned upside down.
Because, I don't like certain standards that, prevent me from being what I want to be.
And we're correcting that. That's why today, at my direction, we're undertaking a full review of the department's definitions of so-called toxic leadership, bullying and hazing.
Bullying and hazing. So we can't, bullying and hazing is now going to be okay under Pete Hegseth as long as we can make a justification as to why it makes you a better troop.
To empower leaders to enforce standards without fear of retribution or second guessing. Of course,
because God forbid we second guess. God forbid we actually take the time to consider, maybe this action is bad and it might be harmful to morale or whatever.
Can't do like nasty bullying and hazing. We're talking about words like bullying and hazing and toxic. They've been weaponized. And
we can't do the nasty versions of bullying and hazing, but the non-nasty bullying and hazing is A-okay. What versions of bullying and hazing are okay? Let me know, old Petey boy.
Bastardized inside our formations, undercutting commanders and NCOs. No more. Setting, achieving, and maintaining high standards is what you all do. And if that makes me toxic, then so be it.
Well, that's not what makes you toxic. What makes you toxic is the rest of the speech that you're giving and the words to come.
Second, today at our direction, we're ensuring that every service, every unit, every schoolhouse, and every form of professional military education conduct an immediate review of their standards. Now, we've done this in many places already, but today it goes across the entire Department of War. Any place where tried and true physical standards were altered, especially since 2015 when combat arms standards were changed to ensure females could qualify, must be returned to their original standard.
Why? Why must they be returned to their original standard if the original standard was too high? Now, if you show me that the individual standard was too high and give me empirical reasons why and how having the standard reduced meant that our troops were not going to be ready to do the jobs they needed to do, then by all means, prove it. But they're not going to prove it. They're going to want to go back to how things were because they like how things were. Now, back to 2015, how things were is not how most of these people want. These people want things back to 1945, 1955, that sort of thing.
Other standards have been manipulated to hit racial quotas as well, which is just as unacceptable. This too must end. Merit only. The president talks about it all the time. Merit-based. But
when they say merit-based, they mean we only want to hire straight white men who are Christians, and that's it. Because they lie about what merit means in order for them to be able to get their way.
Here are two basic frameworks I urge you to pursue in this process. Standards I call, my staff's heard all about them, the 1990 test and the E6 test. The 1990s test is simple. What were the military standards in 1990? And if they have changed, tell me why. Was
Ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why. Anyway, sorry.
it a necessary change based on the evolving landscape of combat? Or was the change due to a softening, weakening, or gender-based pursuit of other priorities? 1990s seems to be as good a place to start as any.
We're just going to cherry pick 1990 out of the air. No reason, no rhyme or reason as to why that year versus other years are, anyway, I'm sure there are troops in 2014, our troops in 2016, I'm sure were well prepared and well trained and et cetera to do the job they needed to do, but we're going to pick a time back when a Republican was president.
And the E6 test. Ask yourself, does
The E6X, drop 6 E's and go to a rave.
what
Yeah.
you're doing make the leadership, accountability, and lethality efforts of an E6, or frankly an O3, does it make it easier or more complicated? Does the change empower staff sergeants, petty officers, and tech sergeants to get back to basics? The answer should be a resounding yes. The E6 test, or O3 test, clarifies a lot, and it clarifies quickly. Because war does not care if you're a man or a woman.
Exactly, Dean Baker. Don't ask, don't tell. Don't ask, don't tell.
Neither does the enemy. Nor does the weight of your rucksack, the size of an artillery round, or the body weight of a casualty on the battlefield who must be carried. This, and I want to be very clear about this, this is not about preventing women from serving. We
Bullshit.
very much value the impact of female troops. Our female officers and NCOs are the absolute best in the world.
Then why are you setting the standards to make it impossible for them to continue to be the best in the world? Show me why changing it back. And he wants us to explain to him why standards were changed. I say to you, explain to us why standards need to change back. Give us empirical evidence, give us proof, give us the data that lets us know that these standards right now are harmful to the troops that serve this country.
But when it comes to any job that requires physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is.
I mean, don't steal Donald Trump's line.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Pete Hegseth trampling all over his boss. That's terrible of him to take his own lines, and use them, whatever. But again, show me why the standards that allow the current women to serve, why are they wrong? Why are they bad? Why do they put us at risk? If you can do that, by all means, raise the standards to a point where they are reasonable so that people can do their jobs. But you're not doing that. You're just making vague statements about the standards and not actually proving why the standards today are harmful to our combat readiness.
If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it. That is not the intent, but it could be the result, so be it. It will also mean that weak men won't qualify because we're not playing games. This is combat. This is life or death.
But it's not just about combat, because you're not putting these standards in for people who are going to be in combat. You're putting it in for everybody. You said, the people who serve, behind a desk, or the people who are out in the field. Right? Those people, generals, 5-star generals, admirals, people who are not going to be out and people who don't need to be combat ready, you're putting that on them as well. So it's not just about combat readiness. You're a liar.
As we all know, this is you versus an enemy hell-bent on killing you. To be an effective, lethal fighting force, you must trust that the warrior alongside you in battle is capable.
And actually, here, let me rewind that a bit, because this part needs to be recorded, because I've something to say about that one.
It will also mean that weak men won't qualify because we're not playing games. This is combat. This is life or death. As we all know, this is you versus an enemy hell-bent on killing you. To be an effective, lethal fighting force, you must trust that the warrior alongside you in battle is capable, truly physically capable of doing what is necessary under fire.
Now, let me talk about this for a second, because I used to work at a previous job in a previous employer, and the last day that a certain individual had lunch with us, his name was Richard. He was talking about people who were serving in the military and how he was opposed to having gay folks serving in the military. And in his justification, he used those exact words specifically, that you have to trust that the person next to you is going to be able to, do the job that you need them to do, or what have you. And he said then, this is very important, he then said that this is how people get shot by friendly fire. And I was like, wait, you're telling me that people would purposely shoot soldiers that they thought were gay because they would rather have them be dead? They would shoot them in the back because they would rather have them be dead than have them serving next to them because they didn't trust that they could serve with them well and properly, whatever. And he's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. But it sounds like that's what you're saying. So please explain it to me again so I can understand what you're saying, if that in fact is not what you're saying. And then he continued to say that people would get shot in the back with friendly fire because they weren't trusted. And I'm like, so you're telling me that it wasn't really friendly fire, that the reason they got shot in the back is because the people who did the shooting didn't trust the person sitting next to them and felt that they'd be safer if they didn't have the gay person next to them. And he said, no, that's not what I'm saying. And that's the last day he had lunch with us, because I guess he didn't like me calling him out on his bigotry, on his toxic views. So when he says you have to trust that the person next to you is going to be, somebody who is capable of serving, you have to trust that they'll have your back. That's code for something else. That's not code that they meet certain physical standards. That's code that they don't want people in there who they don't trust, which will include them going back to banning people who are gay from being in the military, or I guess suffer potential friendly fire from the troops behind them, simply because you have bigoted troops who are out there who will use that as a justification to act on that bigotry and shoot fellow soldiers in the back because they don't trust them, and the reason they don't trust them is because they're gay, and or maybe other reasons that that they might actually shoot them in the back for other reasons because they don't fit into the new model, the ideal model of what Pete Hegseth's military is going to look like. And if that doesn't fucking terrify you, I don't know what is or what will. Let's continue.
This is the only standard you would want for your kids and for your grandkids.
I thought the standard was handling your unit like you would handle your child's unit, but let's continue.
Apply the War Department Golden Rule, the 1990 test, and the E6 test, and it's really hard to go wrong. Third.
But they'll find a way to do it anyway.
We are attacking and ending the walking on eggshells and zero defect command culture.
Let's go back on that again as well, because...
Apply the War Department Golden Rule, the 1990 test, and the E6 test, and it's really hard to go wrong. Third. We are attacking and ending the walking on eggshells and zero defect command culture. A risk-averse culture means officers execute not to lose instead of to win. A risk-averse culture means NCOs are not empowered to enforce standards. Commanders and NCOs don't take necessary risks or make tough adjustments for fear of rocking the boat or making mistakes. A blemish-free record is what peacetime leaders covet the most, which is the worst of all incentives. We, as senior leaders, need to end the poisonous culture of risk aversion and
end the poisonous culture of risk aversion, and then go back to the poisonous culture of we can do whatever the hell we want to, and we don't have to, look out for our fellow troops under certain circumstances. Like, if, a troop or a leader, or if a troop raped somebody or enabled a rape to happen, let's just shove this, sweep that under the rug like the military always used to do, and probably still does. But we're going to make it worse for the people serving in the military now because we're not going to, we don't want to have these dings on people's record. Having a perfect record is terrible, right?
Empower our NCOs at all levels to enforce standards. Truth be told, for the most part, we don't need new standards. We just need to reestablish a culture where enforcing standards is possible. And that's why today, at my direction, I'm issuing new policies that will overhaul the IG, EO, and MEO processes. I call it the no more walking on eggshells policy. We are liberating commanders and NCOs. We are liberating.
Look at that smirk that he's doing when he's making that. That smirk is like he knows what he's doing. And he's probably looking at other people who also know what he's doing. Making a toxic environment and justifying the old toxic environment. By saying this new environment, by falsely labeling the new one as toxic, when the new one is trying to fix the issues that happened in the military in the past, like, that allowed, people to turn their head and ignore when somebody comes forward and said, hey, I was raped by this soldier. Well, now it's going to make it harder for people to come forward and, deal with, the fact that, they were raped.
We are overhauling an inspector general process, the IG, that has been weaponized, putting complainers, ideologues, and poor performers in the driver's seat. We're doing the same with the equal opportunity.
Because God forbid they complain. God forbid a complaint comes in. It might actually be valid. We might actually have to take accountability for the actions.
Opportunity and military equal opportunity policies, the EO and MEO at our department. No more frivolous complaints, no more anonymous complaints, no more
anonymous complaints. Again, they're not going to allow people to come forward and say, hey, there's a problem here, go investigate it, and then the people aren't going to come forward because they're going to be afraid of retribution. So again, you're going to increase toxicity in the military by taking these steps. And doing it under the guise that you're reducing toxicity, which is just nefarious.
Repeat complainants, no more smearing reputations, no more endless waiting, no more
smearing reputations. Let's get the Brock Turners of the world into the military. Who cares if they continue to do their bad actions, if they continue to assault people sexually or whatever? Who cares about that? Because, somebody complained. We don't want complainers. We want doers.
Legal limbo, no more sidetracking careers. No more walking on eggshells.
Maybe people shouldn't have a career in the military if they can't be trusted to take care of all of their troops. All of them. Not just the few. Not the few or the proud, but everybody else who were in the military as well.
Of course, being a racist has been illegal in our formation since 1948. The same goes for sexual harassment.
But it still happened well past 1948. Because you had a toxic culture that more recent presidents have tried to fix, and now you're undoing that fixing.
Both are wrong and illegal. Those kinds of infractions will be.
They're wrong and illegal, but if you want to complain about it, you have to do it in person. You have to do it non-anonymously, and you can't be a repeat complainer because repeat complainers are somehow not to be trusted, I guess, according to old Petey Boy, right?
Ruthlessly enforced. But telling someone to shave or get a haircut or to get in shape or to fix their uniform or to show up on time or to work hard, that's exactly the kind of discrimination we want.
The discrimination of the shave thing, again, I've explained why that's a problem, and it's because they don't want Muslims serving. But anyway, let's continue.
We are not civilians. You are not civilians. You are set apart for a distinct purpose.
And the president's not a civilian either, I guess, right? So make sure that he resigns and puts in his, walking papers, because he's not going to, as commander-in-chief, he's not setting an example for the rest of the troops.
So we, as a department, need to stop acting and thinking like civilians and get back to basics.
Ho Chi Adams says, and you must belong to the master race. Yeah, exactly.
And put the power back in the hands of commanders and NCOs. Commanders and NCOs who make life and death decisions. Commanders and NCOs who enforce standards and ensure readiness. Commanders and NCOs who in this War Department have to look in the mirror and they have to pass the golden rule test.
Yeah, yeah, basically worrying about people's children's units, right?
My kids, your kids, America's
Trucker John, only Hitler mustaches allowed, exactly.
sons and daughters. So I urge you all here today, and those watching, take this guidance and run with it. The core of this speech is the 10 directives we're announcing today. They were written for you, for Army leadership, for Navy leadership, for Marine Corps leadership, for Air Force leadership, Space Force leadership. These directives are designed to take the monkey off your back and put you, the
Is that another dog whistle?
leadership, back in the driver's seat. Move out with urgency because we have your back. I have your back. And the Commander-in-Chief has your back.
I do not have anybody's back or front or whatever unless it's Putin.
And when we give you this guidance, we know mistakes will be made. It's the nature of leadership. But you should not pay for earnest mistakes for your entire career. And that's why today, at my direction, we're making changes to the retention of adverse information on personnel records that will allow leaders with forgivable, earnest, or minor infractions to not be encumbered by those infractions in perpetuity.
What is a forgivable transaction or whatever, transgression or whatever? What is a what are forgivable? What are minor? Define what minor means. Well, not the way that Donald Trump likes them, but you know, the other minor.
People make honest mistakes, and our mistakes should not define an entire career. Otherwise,
250 kilo. What's Pete's views on circumcision in the Corps? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe probably he's like. They probably think about it. I mean, they're so worried about what's in other people's pants, so you'd wonder that, you know, they're not wondering about that too, right?
we only try not to make mistakes, and that's
Like, you have to, in order to be an airman, you have to be circumcised because you're more aerodynamic, right?
not the business we're in. We need risk takers and aggressive leaders and a culture that supports you. Fourth, at the War Department, promotions across the Joint Force will be based on one thing:
Merit.
merit. Colorblind, gender-neutral, merit-based.
Except we're going to have male tests, but they're going to be gender neutral.
The entire promotion process, including evaluations of warfighting capabilities, is being thoroughly re-examined. We've already done a lot in this area, but more changes are coming soon. We'll promote top-performing officers and NCOs faster and get rid of poor performers more quickly. Evaluations,
And by poor performers, they mean something other than poor performers.
education, and field exercises will become real evaluations, not box checks, for every one of us at every level. These same reforms happened before World War II as well. General George Marshall and Secretary of War Henry Stimson did the same thing. And we won a world war because of it. As it happens, when he started the job, Chairman Kane.
I mean, if there's going to be a physical fitness test, like, shouldn't there, maybe they should just make sure to have on it as well the ability to not, you know, hit yourself in the nuts with a skateboard. I mean, have you seen that video yet? Because it's hilarious.
Gave me a frame and a photo to hang in my office. A matching frame and photo hangs in his. It's a photo of Marshall and Stimson preparing for World War II.
Don't! Oh, wait, not Stimson. Sorry.
Those two leaders famously kept the door open between their offices for the entirety of the war. They worked together, civilian and uniform, every single day. Chairman Kane and I do the same. There is no daylight between us. Our doors are always open. Our job together is to ensure our military is led by the very best, ready to answer the nation's call.
The very best, as long as you're straight and white and Christian. And a man.
Fifth, as you have seen, and the media has obsessed over, I have fired a number of senior officers since taking over. The previous chairman, other members of the Joint Chiefs, combatant commanders, and other commanders. The rationale for me has been straightforward. It's nearly impossible to change a culture with the same people who helped create or even benefited from that culture, even if that culture was created by a previous president and previous secretary. My approach has been simple. When in doubt, assess the
When in doubt, whip it out. Or when in doubt, kick it out. Kick him out, I guess.
situation, follow your gut, and if it's the best for the military, make a change. We all serve at the pleasure of the president every single
And I look forward to pleasuring the president every single day.
day. But in many ways, it's not their fault. It's not your fault. As foolish and reckless as the woke department was, those officers were following elected political leadership. An entire generation of generals and admirals were told that they must parrot the insane fallacy that, quote, our diversity is our strength.
There's things that show that diversity does increase for a better workforce and a better, altogether, more effective units or more effective people who are, serving. But hell, what do I know?
Of course, we know our unity is our strength. They had to put out dizzying DEI and LGBTQI plus statements. They were told female.
I mean, just because you are made dizzy by it doesn't mean that, other people are made dizzy by it, but let's continue.
And males are the same thing. Or that males who think they're females is totally normal.
I mean, it's not normal in that the majority of people are cisgender, but some people are trans, and that's okay, and that's fine for them to be that way. And as long as they can, pass the same tests that you want everybody else to pass, they should be able to serve in the military as well without being judged for what you don't understand because you have a kindergarten cop level of biology understanding.
They were told that we need a green fleet and electric tanks. They were told to kick out Americans who refuse an emergency vaccine. They followed civilian policies set by foolish.
I mean, if you're supposed to, be protecting the people of this country and not putting their lives at risk, and are supposed to be allowing them to live in peace that requires them to live, and if you won't do what's needed to be done to help prevent the spread of a virus that killed 1 to 2% of the people that had it or whatever, if you won't, I mean, we can't know the real numbers because Donald Trump wanted to slow down the testing and stop the testing. But, if you're unwilling to take the jab, as they call it, then maybe you don't have the spine or the testicular fortitude, if you will, regardless of gender, to be able to serve in the military and look down the barrel of somebody's gun. If you get afraid of a little needle, how are you going to stand up and when the enemy is pointing a gun at you? Right? I mean, I don't see why I'm off on that.
Political leaders. Our job, my job, has been to determine which leaders simply did what they must to answer the prerogatives of civilian leadership, and which leaders are truly invested in the woke department, and therefore incapable of embracing the War Department and executing new lawful orders. That's it. It's that simple. So for the past 8 months, we've gotten a good look under the hood of our officer corps. We've done our best to thoroughly assess the human terrain. We've had to make trade-offs and some difficult decisions.
I'm sure they weren't difficult.
It's more of an art than a science. We have been and will continue to be judicious, but also...
Although I don't want to use the term judicious enough because I don't want to let y'all think that we're going to be controlled by the Jews, because we are a Christian military, right? Is that what you're going to say next? Or was that what you're thinking? Because I'm sure that's what a lot of other MAGA folks are thinking, because MAGA at its core is bigoted, racist, and anti-Semitic. Let's continue.
So, expeditious. The new compass heading is clear. Out with...
Mike says, this is why I voted Republican. What, to weaken the military? You voted to weaken the military because that's what this is going to do.
The Shirellis, the McKenzies, and the Millies, and in with the Stockdales, the Schwarzkopfs, and the Pattons. More leadership changes will be made, of that I'm certain.
Patton would have taken every vaccine that was asked of him, I believe.
Not because we want to, but because we must. Once again, this is life and death. The sooner we have the right people, the sooner we can advance the right policies. Personnel is policy.
Right policies, which probably conservative policies, not correct ones.
But I look out at this group, and I see great Americans.
Except for the few ones in there that I'm not going to name because the media will have my butt for it. But, you know, mostly great Americans, right?
Leaders who have given decades to our great republic at great sacrifice to yourselves and to your families. But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign. We would thank you for your service.
No, you wouldn't. You'd find a way to cut their benefits.
But I suspect, I know, the overwhelming majority of you feel the opposite. These words make your hearts full.
Or maybe make other parts of them full too, but, you know, maybe that's something left for Liberal Dan Radio After Dark.
You love the War Department because you love what you do, the profession of arms.
I'm sure many of them don't love the War Department. They love the Department of Defense, and that's what they want. That's what they signed up to serve for. They don't want a warmonger in charge. They want to prevent war at all possibility.
You are hereby liberated to be an apolitical, hard-charging, no-nonsense,
You have to be apolitical, but you have to swear fealty to Donald Trump.
constitutional leader that you joined the military to be.
And if your president gives you an unconstitutional order, we expect you to follow it anyway because you have to swear fealty to him and not the country.
We need you locked in on the M, not the D, the E, or the I, not the DEI or the DIE of dime. By that I mean the M, military, of the instruments of national power.
I want you locked on with the D. Sorry. He has to think about D a bunch. Aleph Null. Oh, brother, you are lost with these takes. Am I now, Aleph Null? Nice for you to join us. Thank you for helping the algorithm.
We have entire departments across the government dedicated to diplomatic, informational, and economic lines of effort. We do the M. Nobody else does. And our GoFos need to master it in every domain and every scenario.
We do the M. No one else does the M better. And except for the fact that we have more N-words than anyone else.
No more distraction.
Yeah, Molly. Better not test positive for Tylenol. Absolutely. Yeah, don't take Tylenol. It's terrible. It's horrible. Nobody should take Tylenol. Just grin and bear it.
No more political ideologies. No more debris.
Again, the problem with debris. I'm getting hungry. Like, I want to go get a po' boy with debris on it right now because it sounds delicious right about now.
Now, of course, we're
Even though the fact that this administration makes me lose my appetite.
going to disagree at times.
Yeah, I don't know what he means about debris. To me, debris is like roast beef and like drippings from the pan put on your po' boy, especially like a French fry po' boy. I'm gonna have to go get a po' boy tomorrow.
We would not be Americans if we didn't. Being a leader.
Mike, it's so easy to just say Republicans are racist. Well, there's a reason why that is.
In a large organization like ours means having frank
Like ARDS?
conversations and differences of opinion. You will win some arguments and you will lose some arguments. But when civilian leaders
Aleph, no, the algorithm is the point. I mean, Al Gore needs more rhythm, so we do need to help the algorithm, right, to help the channel grow. And I do want to see the channel grow because I would like more people to be involved in the conversations, because by having better conversations with people who agree or disagree, you're going to come to better conclusions. But if you're not open to hearing the opinions of as to why what old Petey boy here is saying is toxic and wrong and how it's going to make our military readiness worse and not better, you're free to leave your comments in the chat and let me know why you think you disagree with me. But just saying that my takes are bad and not giving an example as to why my takes are bad just proves that they're not bad at all, because if you're incapable of making the argument as to why my takes are bad, then why should I believe you when you say that they are? So
issue lawful orders, we
250 kilo. I'm just a po' boy, nobody's loves me. He's just a po' boy from a poor family. Spare him his life from his monstrosity. Anyway.
Execute. We are professionals in the profession of arms.
And legs too. Wait, you have to have both legs, I guess, to serve, because you have to pass the physical fitness test, and so therefore, even if you're a general who, you know, might have lost your leg at some point in combat and moved to like a death scroll or whatever, now you have to either pass the physical fitness test, regardless of whether or not you have the ability to do so, because you might have a, you know, disability of some sort, maybe a disability even obtained when serving in combat, and then they're going to throw you to the curb because you don't look good. Because how someone looks is more important than, I guess, the ideas they can bring to the table as someone who's a member of the senior staff, right? And my takes are bad, apparently, because I think that somebody who served in the military, who perhaps got wounded in duty, who then found other ways to serve their country and moved their way up the ranks and became like a 4-star general, became an admiral, maybe that those people shouldn't be fired because they can't do the physical fitness tests that are required now by Petey Boy and his stupid new rules.
Our entire constitutional system is predicated upon this understanding. Now, seems like a small thing, but it's not.
Did he just fart? I mean, this wasn't as juicy as Trump's fart, but, like, did he just fart?
We'll lose some arguments. But when civilian leaders issue lawful orders, we execute. We are professionals in the profession of arms. Our entire constitutional system is predicated upon this understanding. Now,
is that a fart or is that a
seems
shoes?
like a small thing, but it's not. This includes as well the behavior of our troops online. To that end, I want to thank and recognize the services for their new proactive social media policies. Use them. Anonymous, online, or keyboard complaining is not worthy of a warrior. It's cowardice.
Unless you feel that you're going to have retribution put on you for coming forward and making a complaint about something that's going on in your unit, because maybe the other person who's, you know, being harassed or worse, maybe that person is too afraid to come forward, but you want to come forward and say, hey, there's a problem going on in this unit, let's take care of it, but they don't want to get, you know, dealt with harshly. They don't want to have retribution on them. But now, according to Petey Boy, you know, not wanting to have, you know, retribution on you for coming forward and saying that something going on is wrong, that now is somehow a bad thing. We're going to have less actual complaints about real problems going on in the military because people are going to be afraid of retribution against them. That's why you have anonymous reporting. But Petey Boy doesn't like that because he doesn't like anonymous reporting because I guess someone reported him maybe one time. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But I don't understand why anybody with a working brain would not understand why anonymous reporting is important. Or as Trump would say, anonymous reporting. Aleph, no, that's the content I have to address. Did he fart? Yeah, sure. Or address anything else that I said. You know, you could, you know, choose to only look at the jokes that I make, you know, because haha funny, and I like to inject some humor into the conversation as we're having discussions. You could do that, or, you know, you can actually talk about the real meat of the issues that are going on. But you can continue to help the algorithm, that's fine. I'll help you. You can continue to support a president who can't even say the word acetaminophen.
I said, well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Acetaminophen.
Masquerading as conscience. Anonymous, unit-level social media pages that trash commanders, demoralize troops, and undermine unit cohesion must not be tolerated. Again, O3s, E6s. 6.
Bingo! Oh, wait, we're not playing bingo. I'm sorry. Jeff Curry. Sometimes everybody farts.
We must train and we must maintain. Any moment that we are not training on our mission or maintaining our equipment is a moment we are less prepared for preventing or winning the next war.
And every moment that you spend kicking out well-qualified people because they're chubby and serving in a position that doesn't require physical fitness, you know, you're also harming the military.
That is why today, at my direction, we are drastically reducing the ridiculous amount of mandatory training that individuals and units must execute. We've already ended the most egregious. Now we're giving you back real time. Less PowerPoint briefings and fewer online courses, more time in the motor pool, and more time on the range. Our job is to make sure you have the money, equipment, weapons, and parts to train and maintain, and then you take it from there.
Let's see. Increases that have happened in the military happened mostly before the presidential election, so of 2024. Military enlistments across the services started improving in late 2023 after several years of shortfalls. By October 2024, the month before Trump's elections, enlistments were up 60% compared to the prior year. So yeah, the increases that we've seen in military, recruitment happened before Trump took office, not after, and before even Trump was elected or voted for or whatever.
You all know this because it's common sense. The tougher and the higher the standards in our units, the higher the retention rates in those units.
Except for if you make them too high and then you have to fire a whole bunch of people because you've made them impossibly high or ridiculously high or high enough or too high that's reasonable for the job that they're supposed to do, then you're not going to have high retention rates. You're going to have to lay off or fire a bunch of people for meeting these standards that you've now returned to that may or may not have been appropriate. But again, you're not proving why they're appropriate, that have been proven why the current standards are too low. They're just going to increase them because they want to use those new high standards to deny people entry to people that they don't want serving, like women, like other folks as well. So
warriors want to be challenged. Troops want to be tested. When you don't train and you don't maintain.
Yeah, this whole thing could have just been a Signal chat too. They didn't have to be a full-on meeting. They could have just done it in Signal, right?
You demoralize. And that's when our best people decide to take their talents to the civilian world. The leaders who created the woke department have already driven out too many hard chargers. We reverse that trend right now. There is no world in which high-intensity war exists without pain, agony, and human tragedy.
And then we're going to increase it under this War Department.
We are in a dangerous line of work. You are in a dangerous line of work.
And I'm going to make it more dangerous because I don't want fatties walking around writing software. I don't want people who can't do, a certain amount of leg squats or run a certain amount of time because they don't have the ability to do so because they have a disability that they got maybe during war. We're not going to have them serve either. So we're going to wipe out a whole bunch of qualified people because we're going to set the standards too high and ridiculously so for the jobs that don't even need them to be that in the first place. Because again, we don't want 5-star fatties or general gluttons walking around, right?
We may lose good people.
We may lose good people. Because it's not about keeping good people. It's about keeping the people that they want to keep so that they can have a military that will follow the orders of Trump and not disobey them when they come in and they're unconstitutional. Because he wants his own little SS. They're going to start hiring what? They're going to start hiring people who were pardoned from J6 now too, right?
But let no warrior cry out from the grave, if only I had been properly trained. We will not lose warfighters because we failed to train or equip them,
We will not,
or resource them. Shame on us if we do. Train like your warriors' lives depend on it, because they do. To that point, basic training.
Yeah, Big Hunk. He's either on wife 3 or 4, and he cheated on his. I guess his mistress, I think, was pregnant with their child, or the current wife was his mistress before he left his previous marriage. If I have those facts correctly too. But hey, why is he not a trustworthy guy? Who would have known? Of course, he told us he swore that he wouldn't drink once he got sworn into office. I can't say if that's true or not, but I don't think anybody's checked to see if there's any other horrible tattoos on his body either.
Is being restored to what it should be. Scary, tough, and disciplined. We're empowering drill sergeants to instill healthy fear in new recruits, ensuring that future warfighters are forged. Yes, they can shark attack, they can toss bunks, they can swear, and yes, they can put their hands on recruits. This does not mean they can be reckless or violent.
So yeah, it's okay to abuse your recruits as long as you don't go too far with it.
Violate the law, but they can use tried and true methods to motivate new recruits, to make them the warriors they need to be. Back to basics at basic as well. Of course, and you know this, basic training is not where mission readiness should end. The nature of the evolving threat environment demands that everyone in every job must be ready to join the fight if needed.
No, that's stupid. Because the evolving threat that is facing us comes from things like AI, comes like from things from digital malware attacks, comes from, there are technical aspects of the threats that are of the 21st century that can't be solved because you're a big, strong man fighting. Yes, sometimes you need to have big, strong fighters who will be able to get in the dirt, get in the mud, whatever, and be able to do a physical job and serve in a physical way that some people won't be able to do. But many other positions, if you're sitting there, I don't give a crap. And nobody should give a crap if the person who's on a cybersecurity team in the military can't do push-ups. I mean, you want to train the people to be able to shoot a gun in dire emergencies? Fine, do so. But you shouldn't have to have combat readiness if you're sitting behind a desk on a laptop typing out your code to be able to handle the next cybersecurity threat. Thank you, 5Eggs, for rebroadcasting on your channel. Appreciate you.
Core credo of the Marine Corps is every Marine a rifleman. It means that everyone, regardless of MOS, is proficient enough to engage an enemy threat at sea, in the air, or in a so-called rear area.
But that shouldn't be the case for everybody, because the Marines are more of a specialized unit and not the entirety of, like, the Navy, where other people in other roles might not have to do all the things that a Marine might need to do.
We need to ensure that every member of our uniformed military maintains baseline proficiency in basic combat skills, especially because the next war, like the last, will likely not have a rear area.
Oh my.
Finally,
but what rear areas? Like when we went into Operation Desert Storm, I'm sure a lot of the people were working for the military from, a bunker over here. And now that you have, smarter drones and smarter technology where you can send a drone in and go attack people using a joystick back from, some military base in California or Virginia or whatever, those people don't need to be able to pick up a gun and charge the enemy. Those people have to be adept at the tasks that they're required to do, the tasks that they're assigned to do to be able to protect the people of this country. But who cares about protecting the people of this country? Because I guess the next military action that's going to happen from the people who are trained to be troops and go after the enemy are going to be the internal people, the internal enemies, the domestic enemies of this administration, which includes people like myself, people like, and other folks, Antifa, the wide variety, this big blanket of an organization that doesn't even have an organizational structure, but they're going to come after Antifa, and they're going to use Antifa as a reason to go after their political enemies and use the military against them too, I suppose. So I guess there is no rear area. I guess he's just said the quiet part out loud, right?
President Trump rightly pointed out when he changed the department name, the United States has not won a major theater war since the name was changed to the Department of Defense in 1947.
Define major theater war. Because, we technically won in the Persian Gulf. We toppled Saddam Hussein, right? Maybe that's not a major theater war. The only major theater wars that were done is Korea, which just has an armistice or whatever, and then Vietnam, which, we lost. We didn't win Vietnam. We pulled out, which unfortunately Pete Hegseth's dad did not do.
One conflict stands out in stark contrast: the Gulf War. Why? Well, there's a number of reasons, but it was a limited mission with overwhelming force and a clear end state. But why did we execute and win the Gulf War the way we did in 1991? There's two overwhelming reasons. One was President Ronald Reagan's military buildup gave an overwhelming advantage. And two, military and Pentagon leadership had previous formative battlefield experiences.
But the battlefield experiences that they had were in the last two wars that we didn't win. So clearly the ability to win a war is not a requirement to win, to be a troop, to be a grunt, to be a Marine, or whatever position you had in those wars. Apparently, being in those losing scenarios didn't necessarily cause these people to not be able to pull off the victory in 91. And, well, also, there's the fact that the idea that any military of ours wouldn't have been able to defeat, Saddam Hussein's military is just absurd. We could beat any of the countries that are over there. We could beat up now and destroy if we wanted to. Fortunately, I think Donald Trump is too much wanting to. Problem is, good presidents, good leaders don't want to, because you don't want to start wars. I mean, Donald Trump in 2016 said that we should go over there and kill the terrorists and then seize the oil and then take it for ourselves. So
the men who led this department during the Gulf War were mostly combat veterans of the Vietnam War.
As I said,
they said never again to mission creep or nebulous end states.
The Gulf War literally had some mission creep, but then of course the Gulf War II also had mission creep because it should have been happening in the first place. But whatever.
The same holds true today.
I guess I was confusing the two wars. I guess because Saddam Hussein was the next one, not after 9/11, not the first Gulf War. But mea culpa. Let's continue.
Our civilian and military leadership is chock full of veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan who say never again to nation building and nebulous end states. This clear-eyed view, all the way in the White House, combined with President Trump's military buildup.
But he can't find end states because he said he would find the end state in Ukraine and Russia. That's not happened. He said he would fix the issues between Hamas and Israel. That's not happened. So
postures us for future victories if, and we will, and when we embrace the War Department. And we must. We are preparing every day. We have to be prepared for war, not for defense. We're training warriors, not defenders. We fight wars to win, not to defend.
When you fight a war to defend, you still fight the war to win, dumbass.
Defense is something you do all the time. It's inherently reactionary and can lead to overuse, overreach, and mission creep.
How the hell does that fucking make sense? Fighting to defend leads to mission creep? No. Being overly aggressive, like you're doing right now, by renaming it the Department of War, that leads to mission creep.
War is something you do sparingly, on our own terms, and with clear aims.
Bullshit.
We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy.
Which exactly, if overwhelming means you're probably going to put more force than is necessary to do the job because you don't give a crap about the casualties that happen of your war. Because that's why this administration supports Netanyahu in Israel so much, is because they don't give a shit about how many needless deaths happen in Gaza.
We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate.
Stupid rules of engagement, like limiting civilian casualties. That's not a stupid rule of engagement. That is a necessary thing that needs to happen if you're going to fight a legal war.
Demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country.
And the enemies of our country often include the people who are in charge of those countries, but don't often include the people who are under the thumb of those same leaders. But we are going to treat all of them like they are the enemy because we are a nation run by bigots and xenophobes and racists, etc.
No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters. That's all I ever wanted as a...
It's all I ever wanted. He's the second time he's cited boy bands, huh?
Platoon leader. And it's all my E6 squad leaders ever wanted, back to that E6 rule. We let our leaders fight their formations, and then we have their back. It's very simple, yet incredibly powerful.
It's very simple, but war isn't often simple, or at least it shouldn't be as simple as you're trying to make it.
A few months ago, I was at the White House when President Trump announced his Liberation Day for America's trade policy. It was a landmark day. Well, today is another Liberation Day. The liberation of America's warriors, in name, in deed, and in authorities. You kill people and break things for a living. You are not politically correct and don't necessarily belong always in politics.
That was your favorite Instinct song? Well, I'm sorry to ruin it for you.
Polite society. We are not an army of one. We are a joint force of millions of selfless Americans. We are warriors.
And you're going to get rid of a whole bunch of them who can do the job because you're going to set the standards so high that they're not going to be able to be qualified to do the job anymore, and we're going to suffer because of it.
We are purpose-built, not for fair weather, blue skies, or calm seas. We were built to load up in the back of helicopters, 5 tons, or Zodiacs, in the dead of night, in fair weather or foul, to go to dangerous places, to find those who would do our nation harm, and deliver justice on behalf of the American people in close and brutal combat, if necessary.
If necessary. I guess I'm glad he included if necessary, because not all the combats need to be close and brutal. Sometimes we could use, smarter technology to not even put the lives of our soldiers at risk in the first place. And that's what you need. You need to make sure that you have a military that's not going to waste the lives of people by putting them into hand-to-hand brutal combat when such a thing is not necessary.
You are different. We fight not because we hate what's in front of us.
Yeah, Big Hook says, that's why you don't put assholes like this in charge. They're always wanting to go to war, an even crazier version of John Bolton. And who would have thought that John Bolton has become reasonable, but when you move the goalpost as to reasonableness, you start making John Bolton look like a reasonable individual, and that in and of itself is scary as fuck.
We fight because we love what's behind us. You see, the Ivy League faculty loungers will never understand us, and that's okay, because they could never do what you do. The media will mischaracterize us, and that's okay, because
that's the whole. He's now using the Adolf Hitler, Lugenpress, Donald Trump fake news propaganda BS. If the media has something to say that's negative about what I'm saying here, it's not because they're right and I'm wrong. It's because they're liars and you shouldn't believe them. And you do it preemptively because then he'll be able to say at some point later, see, after the speech, the media said this about my speech and this is why they can't be trusted because they don't understand what it is like to be a soldier. Meanwhile, he's just going to continue to gaslight people and tell us that, oh, it's just the bad media that doesn't understand. You can't be trusted. They're liars, and which enables fascism to grow. It's how Hitler came to power. It's how Trump came to power. It's now how now these people who are leading the military are going to be able to use their power to implement policies that are going to be harmful, not just to the military, not just to the people who serve this military, but to the nation as a whole, because it's going to weaken us when it comes to combat preparedness. And anybody with 17 working brain cells should be able to figure that out. Unfortunately, that's what they combined share amongst the MAGA movement.
Deep down, they know the reason they can do what they do is you. In this profession,
the reason the media can do what they do is because of the military, but we've also told the media that they can't report on the things that the military is doing without the military approval to say you can say that or not, and if they don't follow your rules as to what they can say or what they can't say, then they're not going to have access to the military at all, so they can do more things in secret unless they're propagandists of the military in the first place, which then makes the media not trustworthy on military matters either. I'm not asking that the military should be able to release classified documents. No, not one bit. But that's not the entirety of what Pete Hegseth said that the media must not report on. It's anything that the military doesn't want. If you report anything that the military says don't report, then they're going to punish you by not giving you access, which, again, weakens the media and then weakens this country because we don't have the checks and balances that we should have on all facets of government, including actions of the military.
You feel comfortable inside the violence so that our citizens can live peacefully. Lethality is our calling card, and victory our only acceptable end state. In closing, a few weeks ago, at our monthly Pentagon Christian prayer service,
again, this should have nothing to do with religion. But it is going to be about religion because, again, he's only going to want people who are to serve who are going to be straight, white, Christian men and cisgender.
I recited a commander's prayer. It's a simple yet meaningful prayer for wisdom for commanders and leaders. I encourage you to look it up if you've never seen it.
Because we're going to get rid of wisdom in our commanders and leaders because, you know, we just want them to fight.
But the prayer, it ends like this. And most of all, Lord, please keep my soldiers safe. Lead them, guide them, protect them, watch over them. And as you gave all of yourself for me, help me give all of myself for them. And amen. I have prayed this prayer many times since I've had the privilege of being your secretary.
I don't believe you one bit.
And I will continue to pray this prayer.
250 Kilom, are there enough straight white Christian men available? We'll see, I guess.
For each of you as you command and lead our nation's finest. Go forth and do good things, hard things. President Trump.
Hard things, huh?
Oh my.
Has your back, and so do I. And you'll hear from him shortly. Move out and draw fire, because we are the War Department. Godspeed.
Anyway, so there's that, all that bullshit going on. So yeah. That's just about as terrible as I would expect it to have been. And yeah, it's disturbing, it's disgusting, and we have a lot of things to be afraid of, even more things to be afraid of now than before after this speech, because we are now going to see the weakening of our military. We are now going to see a less prepared military because they're going to set ridiculous standards that people who don't need to follow them are going to now have to follow. So some, you know, nerdy computer guy is going to be not going to be able to go into the, you know, and serve his country in a way that they might be able to. He might have said, look, hey, maybe they have a disability already and went into software development and they're like, hey, I would love to serve my country. I would love to be able to give what I can for my country. So therefore, instead of going into the private sector, I want to serve the military and use my learned abilities to be able to write code and to protect against cybersecurity threats and to do whatever it is that I can do using my brain instead of my body, because for some reason my body was not designed in such a way to enable me to do that. And Pete Hegseth is going to be like, nope, sorry, you have to be able to do PT regardless of your job, and therefore we're going to limit a large swath of people from being able to serve this country in ways that they can serve, because I want everybody to be, you know, fit and able to do like jumping jacks and other calisthenics or whatever you might be required to do as someone serving in the military, and you can't be a fatty. Right? Can't be a fatty. So therefore, so if you're an overweight software developer, or if you're an overweight somebody who's like, you know, good at flying a drone, too bad for you. You can't do the job anymore. So we're going to have to fire somebody who is less qualified, because we believe that that's the way to get rid of DEI, is to limit the applicant pool. How dumb is that? That's absolutely dumb. Completely 100%. It's ridiculous. Yeah, drone operators don't need to do pull-ups. Yes, but he wants everybody to be able to pass, you know, your drills. So you're going to lose. So if everybody who serves has to not have a beard and has to be, if you're in the rear of whatever, if you're in somebody's rear, you have to be able to be clean shaven and not, and be able to pick up a gun and fight in close combat, even if, you're never going to be in such a situation because you're flying a drone or you're coding from somewhere in Quantico or whatever. This country is at more risk now this week than it was last week, and it will continue to be in more and more risk because of these so-called standards that he's going to use to not make the military shaped in his image, in his mind, what it should be, a bunch of fucking white, straight Christian nationalists. That's who they want serving this country. They don't want people questioning the Nazi tactics because they want to build the new SS. They want to build the new brown shirts. They want to build the new groups of people who are going to enforce the policies of this administration that are going to be harmful to many, many people. Robin, and you're in somebody's rear. Not currently. Nobody who didn't say hi to me at my birthday last week and didn't give me a trophy with an Apple logo. You are not the master race. Yeah, exactly. Pete Hegseth is almost 50. He's too old to pass any physical fitness standards test. He's an alcoholic. Supposedly, he says that he can do it. I want to see him try. I would love to put him next to some of the people who are, fresh recruits who have just came out of basic training. Let's see exactly how much of these drills that he'll be able to do that he claims he can do daily, right? I don't believe it. Anyway, I guess at this point because we had all those technical difficulties early on in the show and I had to deal with so much crap that I'm not going to go to the phone lines at this point. Excuse me, but I will go ahead and just say thank you everybody for joining. If something is massively important comes up, we'll do another show before Monday. But unless that happens, we'll come back Monday. I'm still trying to figure out what day of the week that I want to have the third day of Liberal Dan Radio. I haven't quite settled on that yet. Doesn't make sense to be Friday night. If I do it at night, doesn't make sense to be Friday night. Doesn't make sense for it to be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, because then you're leaving out the other 5 days, 4 days. Math is hard for me, apparently. The other 4 days of the week. I don't necessarily feel like Sunday would be a good day, because who knows when I'd be available on Sundays. And even then, it's Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I don't know. And I don't want to get rid of Monday and Wednesday because I've done so much to say, hey, I'm on the air Monday and Wednesday. So then I'd be like, let's change it. So I don't know. And I think I need to change this chat thing because I don't like the fact that it disappears old messages, but the old messages go away rather quickly. I'd rather just have it continue to scroll. So anyway, love you too, Robin. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining the show. We'll end the show with a couple of songs as normal. But until then, thank you all very much. Remember to hop on YouTube every day, come onto the channel, share, comment on videos, help the algorithm, because as we all say, Al Gore needs more rhythm. Until then, thank you very much. Have a good night. Peace.
Gather round, everyone, and I'll tell you a tale about an orange-faced buffoon who should be in a jail. When people say he's done something that goes beyond the pale, he will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A hoax, he said it's all a hoax. When at a press conference, so it misspelled. actions like real sugar in cokes. Confronting with the truth, you'll say it's all a hoax. He promised to release all the Epstein files that caused all the MAGA base to react with smiles. But how long has he put it off? It sure has been a while, and now he's calling this a hoax, protecting pedophiles. A hoax, a hoax. He says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspoken strokes, he'll keep on gaslighting up until he croaks. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax.
Because we can't let people throw around that word. I call it the N-word. There are two N-words, and you can't use either of them.
How about we all come together and say, let's stop attacking pedophiles?
Trump piled debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, they'd scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Goes through crises, storms, and more. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hire his kids to run DC. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, Fox News would say our day. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Love Kim Jong-un, he wrote love letters that take the guns first, lose those rights forever. Signed you spending bills with glee. Had Joe done that, it'd be tyranny. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, they shout love today. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Kept secret files, countless untold. Said Putin's word was good as gold. Invited the Taliban to come to U.S. soil. If Joe had done that, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd want him to pay. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Double standards loud and clear. Rules for Trump, but not for peers. What they call treason if Joe's the name is patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd shout no way. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
Obama and Bush's pictures got hidden, obscuring the past, history rewritten. Hung in a hallway where no door can see, confirming his unending fragility. If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. Object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, he must not exist. Stop the testing was the line that he said. Hundreds of thousands needlessly dead. Now HHS is run by brainworm quack, hiding the truth behind his back. If also includes the Epstein list, an administration run by narcissists. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Boxes of documents stacked floor to the wall, top secret folders in a bathroom stall. Charges were pressed, but the case was dropped. A corrupt judicial system he can co-opt. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Else includes the Epstein list. He'll swear it's fake news, a liberal twist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Encampments downtown, tents lining the street. Invisible people that power won't beat. Hide them away so the cameras can't find the proof of a system that's cold and unkind. Of chaotic secret and NDA sign, an illegal bribe. Michael Cohen fine. Trump got fined too over his gag order, but she didn't gag, cause he was much shorter. It must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. We can't let him win, we must resist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. The creative director at WGSO had a little something he thought you should know. When Dan picked on his bits, Steve got real gruff. So Steve called Dan a flake, called him liberal dandruff. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest. Steve's about to find out his mistake. In this feud, Dan's Kendrick, Steve is Drake. Dan might not be the world's best singer, but he's got more talent in his little finger. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest.
They wrote it in the laws, ink still bleeds. Treating women like soil, just planting seeds. She's gone, brain dead, not even awake. But the state's got a claim, gonna plant its stake. Say it's God's will, say it's life they protect, but they ain't the ones feeling pain or neglect. From Texas to Georgia, they set the trap. Rights roll back while they smile and clap. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. This ain't pro-life, it's control and shame. They don't care if she's gone, just playing a game. Keep her hooked to machines, cold and still, just a vessel to them, not a human with will. No consent, no voice, no chance to resist. Just laws in place, written with a clenched fist. Hospitals scared, judges playing God. Bodies ain't temples, just state-owned pods. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Ban
guns in the dark, they don't care who it kills. Sacking courts while they strip out all of your wills. But we'll fight back, march loud, burn bright, cause this ain't the end, it's the start of the fight. Gilead's here, ain't no grace, and those leopards are coming to eat your face. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator.